Hey everybody, this is Uncanny Derek, and in this video we're going to count down my top 15 favorite Uncanny X-Men covers. Here we go. And of course, if you like what you see, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, leave some comments down below. I'm getting pretty good at responding to all those comments as well. So yeah, here is my top 15 favorite Uncanny X-Men covers. I own 14 out of 15 of them, so I will show you them all. So here we go. Okay, so starting off at number 15 is Uncanny X-Men number 476. And this one here is probably like a, what? Why is this cover on your list, Derek? Well, I think it's just an awesome cover of Warpath. This cover is done by Billy Tan, Danny Mickey, and Frank Darmada. This cover is essentially an awesome growth of Warpath, and he originally started in the early New Mutants and Uncanny X-Men. I think it was 193 he appeared in for that book, and then obviously New Mutants as well is where I think his first appearance was. But the growth of his character has been tremendous up until this point, and it's really awesome to have a cover that really showcases what he's become. And you get this cover that is, he has a robot head on the side there. He's got his vibranium knives, one in his mouth, one in his pulling out from behind. I'm a big fan of brooding covers, and this dark cover is like the epitome of what Warpath is at this point. And so I appreciate the cover for its art, but I also appreciate the cover for what it's trying to show, which is really Warpath's growth as a character. And I'm going to do the best I can here trying to show that cover off without getting that glare in, but the curse of black covers, am I right? Yeah, it's just a really awesome cover, and I know it's very simple in terms of what's out there and what you're going to be seeing, but I think it's just a very powerful cover there. So that's why it's been number 15. To get into complicated covers now, my number 14 is Uncanny X-Men number 205 by Barry Windsor Smith. And let's see how we can do that here. There we go. All right, so this cover is busy as a bee. It is Wolverine in distress. There are a lot of lines and machinery going on here, and it's a weird color palette too. It's a pinkish palette, and there really aren't any covers up until this point in the Uncanny run that has this kind of feel to it. This purpley pinkish hue, and to the viewer looking at this, they're like, what's going on? What's the story behind this cover? It's very intriguing, if not a little distressing. And you got all these lines. His claws are up there, but you get some extra detail of these wires coming down. There's just so much uncomfortableness with this cover that I really appreciate it. And I mean, Barry Windsor Smith is such an incredible artist, and to have awesome cover like this is you just gotta love it. My next cover here is we're taking a little bit of a time travel here. An unusual one, I'm sure you guys will feel too. This is Uncanny. This is X-Men number 61, and this is probably a wild one that you guys will see on my list. Like, why is this one of all the covers on here? And so this is a Neil Adams cover, Sam Rosen as well, and it's unfortunately with Angel's ugliest costume, or one of the ugliest costumes. You can't see his suspenders in this one. But we have Sauron attacking Angel. And what I love about this cover is the amount of detail that's in it that is not apparent to the viewer. You have this very detailed bridge along the top. You have this whole busy cityway or traffic underneath. You got the water, you got the mountains in the back. You get this whole feeling of how removed Angel is from the X-Men. And the X-Men are right there, trying to help out, and they can't do anything because they're so far away. There's this whole feeling of helplessness on this cover, and despite this really bland green Sauron creature, he engulfs the whole cover, and this works. This cover works. I don't know how these guys pulled it off, but they did a great job. And I mean, On the Wings of Death really strikes home the whole artwork that this cover is. And I mean, again, save for Angel's costume color, this is just an incredibly powerful issue, and I think it's one of my favorite covers because of that. So number 13. But my number 12, we're going back to Barry Windsor Smith already, and this is Uncanny X-Men 395. And 15 years after that last cover, we get more Windsor Smith, and this is an unusual cover. I'm sure you'll find as well on my list. I had mentioned in an earlier video that this is the cover that really got me, or this is the book that really got me reading a lot of X-Men, the Poptopia run. And it's not nostalgia that makes me like this cover. It's, again, like the Warpath cover. This is the cover that really drew me to the character Chamber, and it also really shows Chamber's strength and his growth from Generation X into X-Men. And again, it's a very explosive cover, both literally and figuratively, because we obviously have that explosion going on. But it's also, a big blow up in Chamber's life and story, whatever, metaphor, but it's not just a simple explosion. There's a lot of detail in this explosion. You can see kind of, again, with the reflection isn't going to help too much, but there's a lot of line work done with this explosion. There's the explosion in front of Chamber, and it's going in from behind. It is a really cool cover that showcases what Chamber has become. And again, this logo in front of it is done so well. We get a lot of, you're going to see in the rest of them, more or less, my books here, they're going to have the X-Men logo just on the top. This is a clever use of putting the logo. It helps save the space to have Chamber's face along the top of the book. Just a really great cover from Winsor Smith. And out of the two, yeah, I do prefer this one over X-Men 205. Sorry. This next cover, a lot of you will be very familiar with and will love. It's Uncanny X-Men number 268. This is by Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Tom Orchowski. Sorry if I got it wrong. I love this cover for many different reasons. So first off, it's that we have, the big three, Captain America, Wolverine, and Black Widow. They're there for the first time. But you get this really awesome stance from all three of them. They're both brooding and looming over top of the city there. And I really love how the colors are done on this, and how it's also with Jim Lee's drawing. But it has this weird circular motion when you look at it. So initially I'm drawn to Cap's shield, and then because of the color choices, it's Wolverine, and then Black Widow's leg and her red hair, you get drawn up circularly that way, back to Cap's body and back to the shield, and it kind of has a circular motion to it. And the colors, the color scheme itself is black, red, blue, white, orange, kind of auburn yellow. You have this purpley hue in the background. You got obviously a little bit of gold on Black Widow's bracelets there. The colors on paper shouldn't work, but literally they do work on paper. It's just a really striking cover, and it's perfection really in terms of how coloring should be done, the poses. It's just a big wow. I can't say enough about this cover. It is just done so damn well. So that's why it's number 11. But for my 10, start off top 10. This cover is, I feel, one of the most underrated covers of the run. So I will Sportatio, and it's Uncanny X-Men 290. This is much like the Chamber cover, much like the Warpath cover. This is Storm's time to shine. And this cover is just so beautiful. It has so very little color to it. It's really just black and white. You have obviously a little bit of the purplish hue in the background, but it's Storm both literally and figuratively in her element. And it is just a beautiful encompassing of Storm. And if you're reading X-Men, I mean, this is way far after the fall of mutants and Inferno and all that. But you get this piece of Storm, or this piece from Storm, out of this cover. And the Uncanny X-Men logo's behind her. It's all Storm. It's just serenity in a cover, and it just is a defining moment for Storm. I think this is one of the best covers that Portatio ever did for the run. And yeah, it's just, again, a completely underrated cover. It says so much to Storm's character, this cover. And yeah, it's just done so damn well. Hot damn. All right. So next up we have some John Byrne. We have X-Men 137 there. And this is also Terry Austin and Jim Novak on the cover. This is the Phoenix Must Die. This is obviously a very crucial pinnacle issue of Claremont's run, long run of X-Men. This is the issue where Jean Grey dies, spoiler alert. But I love this cover for a handful of different reasons. And one is that, before I even start, Chris Claremont did sign it. When he does sign his books, he does go over top of the logo, not the artwork. So good job, Chris Claremont. About this book, it shows so much despair in it. You know, they got Cyclops and Marvel Girl pushed up against the wall. They're way far from home. Earth is in the background. They are on the moon. And you know, their clothes are tattered. They're on their deathbed, it looks like. And for Marvel Girl, that will be the case. It's also a really cool cover because it's one of the few covers, especially in these earlier issues, where you see Marvel Girl actually use her powers. So you get those rocks being thrown along the side there. Really, up until this point, there hasn't been much Marvel Girl or Phoenix doing anything on the covers at all in regards to their power or her power. So it's really cool to see that. And again, the colors really pop. You got the green, the pink, the purple, the blue, and then this very muted background. Everything just jumps out. And again, that Phoenix must die. Just what a call to action. Unfortunately, and everybody always complains about it, is this Marvel comic could be worth $2,500 to you. And you know what? No, it's not. And you ruined the cover. But it's still, you know, going to be on my list. So there we go. My next book is going to be a John Romita cover. This is Uncanny X-Men 207. And this is John Romita and the late, great Dan Green. I love this cover for a handful of different reasons. One is that it's Wolverine kind of backed into a corner, quite literally. He's in presumably a four-walled room, but he's breaking through that room with his claws. So it's a fourth wall breaking cover. You have all these vertical lines going around the background that are a little disturbing, kind of Alfred Hitchcocky. And then you have this awesome pose from Wolverine that is just, he's up against the, like, as I said, he's up against the wall, but like he has a lot of detail on his costume that shows like he's been in action and he's ready to break out, quite literally, as he claws through. There's so little in this cover, but it has so much to it. And this is a real good testament to Romita Jr.'s artwork because, like, again, it's just Wolverine in a four-walled room. But he does something really awesome to make this cover stand out. And it's easily my number 8 because of that. So my number 7 favorite book is X-Men number 101. And this is the first appearance of Phoenix. That is Marvel Girl jumping out of the water saying, "I am Phoenix." Well, she does it in the book anyway. And the thing I love most about this cover is the power that it exudes. Like, Marvel Girl really has been, especially if you look at the older issues, kind of a background character. And finally, she gets the cover that she deserves. And on top of that, she is drowning all the other X-Men because of it. Not literally, but you have Cyclops, Storm, and Nightcrawler there at the bottom. All of them just both in distress and also in awe of what is happening. I think it's just a great color combo as well on the cover. You have the water, the red and green of Marvel Girls, or Phoenix's now, costume really stand out. It's just a very striking cover by this is Dave Cockrum and Danny Crespi. You just have so much action and power coming up from the water here. It's just boom. It just stands out. It has so much strength to it, and I can just keep repeating myself in different ways with that. But I just love that this cover. It's my number 7 because it's just full of wow. So trust me, my other descriptions are better. Because here's X-Men 133. Number 6. I mean, this is classic Wolverine, and I'm not like the biggest Wolverine fan, but oh man, this cover just has a lot going to it. This is the cover that really defined the character as well. It's his first solo cover, and him taking out these Hellfire Gala guards, just boom, real intense. We have just a few muted colors in there, and then we have this bold yellow, him just ripping around with his claws. This is just key Wolverine. When you think Wolverine in the early years of X-Men, this is it. And even now, like this stands up to even a more recent Wolverine cover. Like, this is everything you want from Wolverine character. And those Hellfire Gala guards, they got nothing on them. They're just falling back and forth. They can't take on his combatants. Wolverine lashes out, said there on the side. Yeah, he's doing that. He's doing a great job at doing that. It's just the story itself was also just so good. Like, everybody has to read this book. It's great. This is just a big action-packed cover, and I love every moment of it. Every little action and reaction from the guards. Just, yeah, great stuff. That cover is John Byrne, Terry Austin, and Gasper Saladino, by the way. Or Saladino is the last name. This is easily one of my favorite covers, I mean, of any comic book. There's when I think of X-Men, this is what I think of. And you're going to recognize it almost immediately if you're been on my channel. It's X-Men number 98. And this is, in my opinion, quintessential X-Men. X-Men versus the Sentinels. And it's bright, it's bombastic, it is just so much action in there. And, you know, if you consider the X-Men just had been rebooted with issue 94, this is something of a, hey, old fans, you can recognize these characters. These are the Sentinels, and obviously they're back. But you got the new X-Men fighting these Sentinels, and they look a lot different than before. And this is a Dave Cockrum cover with Gasper Saladino again. And you get the new X-Men taking these Sentinels on with their full fury, and it's so cool. Like, I mean, Colossus getting knocked back, Nightcrawler running up the wall, this big swipe from the Sentinel, just barely missing them. You got Cyclops and Wolverine at the top there, just trying to take on another Sentinel. It has so much action in there, and so much, everybody's doing something, whether it's falling or not. But I feel when I think of X-Men, the color scheme, the characters, this is it. And there's a reason why this is my the icon on the YouTube here, at least it is currently, because this is just what I feel is quintessential X-Men. And this, again, just such a great cover. I think this is, it really should be my number one. Who am I kidding? And you got this awesome Kirby crackle going on along the side too. What a throwback. It's just such an homage to the early X-Men, and such a great new start for the new X-Men too. So that's my number 5. We get to number 4 though, and again, Claremont signs things properly. Days of Future Past, everybody. Yeah. So what hasn't been said about this cover? This is John Byrne, Terry Austin. The X-Men slain or apprehended in the background. You got this old Wolverine and this old Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, sitting in the front there, and they've been spotted, and backs up against the wall, and everything's doom and gloom. You know, the X-Men are dead. It's almost over. And what hasn't been said about this cover? This has been homaged so many times. This is just such an impactful, important cover for X-Men. And obviously the storyline is as well. I love this cover. There's a reason why it's in there as my number 4. My number 3 is X-Men number 12. It's a book I do not own just yet. And it is Jack Kirby cover with Sam Rosen and Frank, and I can't pronounce the last name, so please forgive me. I'm not even going to attempt it. But anyway, it has Juggernaut bursting out from the wall. It is him versus the X-Men. The bombastic explosion in classic Kirby fashion. The big fists on each side there. And the X-Men just in complete shock and awe. The bright red colors. You don't know who he is, because again, this is the first appearance of Juggernaut as well, so we don't know what to expect from this. The reader looking on it is like, what is going on? And I've mentioned this before with Johnny Craig, it's the action before it happens. We haven't seen Juggernaut in action before. We don't know what he's capable of. All he's done is exploded onto the screen here, and even then, if we watch or if you read the book, that's really the cliffhanger. We see the Juggernaut break in at the very final panel, and there he is, and then that's it. That's it for Juggernaut. We find out the rest of the story in issue 13. So this whole cover is a teaser for a book that is also a teaser, and I really appreciate that the book does that as well. So it's to my number 3 for that reason. My number 2 is real classic X-Men here. And again, much like my issue 98, I feel this is probably the second closest book where I think this is X-Men here. But I find this is a much cooler cover for different reasons. I still think 98 is like, this is X-Men. These Sentinels, that's great. But this, X-Men 210, look at this. Come on, mess with us, make our day. This is X-Men versus the Marauders, and the oozing feel and just strength behind this. It's John Romita Jr., Bob Wysick, and Danny Crespi again. Just wow. You got the X-Men just standing here ready to take on whatever has to be taken on. And when you read this series in the Mutant Massacre, this storyline, in my opinion, changes the X-Men irrevocably. It's such a big deal. Colossus kills somebody for the first time. Nightcrawler and Shadowcat are nearly mortally wounded, which then eventually spins off to Excalibur. Storm doesn't have her powers. It's a train wreck of a beating for the X-Men. They really get their butts kicked despite this cover oozing it. So it's I mean, spoiler alert too, right, guys? But this cover is everything that I want from my X-Men. the confidence that they have, the strength that they have, and the fact that they get their butts kicked still in the end, real cool. And I mean, when you get the later issues after this, 211, 212, 13, Sabretooth gets involved there too. You get the Wolverine Sabretooth hassle. It's great stuff. And this cover and the inking, just the attitude. This is X-Men. This is so good. But is it as good as my number 1? You guys decide. So my number 1 here. Can you guess what it is? All right. 142. It's Terry Austin and Danny Crespi. And in this issue, everybody dies. And obviously I have an affinity for these Sentinels. And Claremont, again, signed along the top. You have the Sentinels obliterating Wolverine. Storm gets killed. This is just so doom and gloom. And again, I like that kind of stuff in my comics. But this is really the pinnacle of the destruction of the X-Men. And also just the pinnacle of that awesome Days of Future Past storyline. The explosion that you get on Wolverine's body, his body disintegrating, the Sentinel just callously blasting Wolverine, and Storm being absolutely helpless. The color scheme, the green background with this purple and bright orange and yellow cover, it has so much energy to it. And just that tagline still, it gets me. Everybody dies. And that's true. Everybody does die. Well, at least all the X-Men in this world here die. And it just completely shocks the viewer because, you've seen Wolverine on the cover of the X-Men books really since issue 94. And suddenly he's dead. And you're told he's dead. That's nuts. So, this book here, Uncanny X-Men 142, is my number 1 favorite X-Men cover. So, that's my list. That's my top 15. What did you guys think? Good list? Bad list? I have some books I should have put in there. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.